Good morning. If you don't know me by now, my name is Cody. Usually I'm up here on the drums, which I was here earlier today, 5 minutes ago. And I've been at the Garden for 14 years. I came in 2011. And I accepted Christ before that, like a year before that, or 6 months. A friend tricked me into going into a retreat. But this is not about that story. Later that year, I met June, another guy, who invited me here to the Garden, and now here I am. I grew up pretty much raising myself since my parents weren't there. Dad was in jail. My mom was always working. But since coming to the Garden, God and his people have been raising me. For me, the Garden means so many different things. First off, the Garden has been an anchor for me. In times of need of all throughout my Christian life, in every difficulty, I've always had someone that I could turn to for advice and support, no matter what. When my Buddhist mom rejected me for becoming a Christian, you were there to hug me while I cried in the bathroom. When I bussed from home to church every week, you gave me rides back home. When I found out my dad was a heinous criminal, you were there to help me process my emotions. Every single job I've ever had is a direct result from a connection I've had at the Garden. When we evacuated from the fire, within 5 minutes of us evacuating, people from the Garden were reaching out to us, offering their homes to stay at. The Garden has also been a training ground for me to practice spiritual disciplines and grow in my relationship with God. As you may know, I'm the last remaining member of the legendary Ark Boys and the Off-Road Boys. If you don't know what that is, that's okay. Just a bunch of guys who are hungry for God and dedicated to growing spiritually. But it looks like we might be witnessing a few legendary groups over by the college ministry. Yeah. It was pretty traumatic to see all my friends leave one by one after the pandemic. But God gently nudged me towards him and helped me see the power in pursuing him on my own instead of relying on my friends. Since then, he's been rebuilding my community here at the Garden. I've learned so much serving on almost every mission team, Navajo, Japan, Mexico, over 10 years. Every student-related ministry from preschool all the way to college, and as well as being on the praise team and a lot of different roles. I've had so many mentors here at church teach me how to live. And actually, so many of their lessons came to fruition when we evacuated from the Hearst fire. Pastor Dan, he taught me how to be chill in crazy situations. So when I saw the fire was right in front of our house, instead of panicking, we were able to get our essentials, make quick decisions calmly, and get out of there. Joel Julian, he taught me in a crisis, when you don't know what to do, the best thing to do is worship. So when we evacuated on our way to our friend's house through the blazing freeways and exploding telephone poles, I was singing praises to our God because he is still good even in this. Even if all our things burnt to a crisp, God is still good. So before I start questioning God and why this is happening to us and if he's good or not, I surrender all that and declare that he is good beyond my understanding. Uran taught me that one of the best qualities to have in life is patience. So when we were out of our home for 5 days without much notice of if our home was okay, I was able to wait peacefully, knowing that God's gonna handle it. Barubi and John Lee, they taught me how to listen. So when my wife is experiencing some very valid anxiety and catastrophic ruminating, I was able to be there for her to listen without judging, without trying to fix it. And thankfully, our house was untouched by this fire, and we came home safe and sound. And finally, the Garden has been a playground for me. To enjoy God and all his people like a child during recess. without the bullying. We have so many fun times here. Do you remember one of our harvest festivals, we made a huge life-size Mario Kart track, right? It was so good. And one of our New Year's, when we worshiped through the New Year, we were singing and dancing and jumping around, and I grabbed the tambourine and I was running all throughout the sanctuary, and I grabbed Charles, and Charles and I were dancing in a circle like a hoedown in the middle of the aisle. Charles. And yesterday, we had a fantastic time, and I was so happy because I got to see, and it's not about the singing and dancing, right? But it's the singing and dancing with my church, with my family. And I knew you had it in you. I knew your knees could bend. If you gave me the time, I could go on and on, right? Because the garden, or God has done so much through the garden, through my family here. And in this time of the year of celebration, I pray for you that you would invest as much as you can into this community just to see how God's going to show up through us. Thanks for listening.